On the news, 2 dead, 10 missing as gunmen attack FRSC officials in Nasarawa State. Suspended Oxford University COVID-19 trials set to resume after independent safety review. And 10 students born beyond recognition in Tanzania school fire. A warm welcome to News Now. I am Fidelia Aguncha. We begin with security matters. Unknown gunmen have killed 2 officers of the Federal Road Safety Corps FRSC, abducting 10 others in Nasarawa State, north-central Nigeria. A total of 26 officers traveling from Sokoto and Kebbi commands of the Corps Academy in Enugu State were attacked by the gunmen around Mararaban Udege on Monday. Confirming the incident in a statement, FRSC spokesperson BC Kazim said 1 officer died during the attack, while the other died at a hospital. He adds that 4 officers sustained wounds, while 8 escaped unhurt. The Corps has now pledged to bring the gunmen to justice and ensure the missing officers are found. Well, 1 person has been confirmed dead in an accident involving a train, an SUV and a passenger bus in the Oshodi area of Lagos State. The unfortunate incident happened in the early hours of Monday when one of the vehicles veered off the road and rammed into the moving train. In a tweet, the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, LASEMA, said occupants of the SUV, a father and his son, sustained serious injuries after the crash. It adds that the driver of the vehicle died at a hospital, while the son is still receiving treatment. Well, it's 5 days left to the September 19th governorship election in Edo State, and the electorate have been assured of a peaceful, fair, and transparent process. National Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Mahmood Yakubu, and the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, made the pledge during a stakeholders meeting earlier today. Mahmood said while the card readers will be used during the election, ZPAD, a new innovation recently adopted by INEC to ascertain biometric accreditation of voters, will not be used due to some software and hardware issues. The police boss, on the other hand, said flashpoint for violence in the state has been identified and have been placed on the watch. They both assured the electorate that their votes will count. Aviation unions have halted operations of Arik Air at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, over alleged non-payment of staff salaries since April. According to the unions, Arik stopped the payment of salaries after placing 90% of the workforce on compulsory leave in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. The unions say the strike would continue indefinitely until their demands are met. Abisola Adebayo has more on that story.
Protesters from the National Union of Air Transport Employees and Air Transport Senior Staff Services Association of Nigeria, Arik Air branch, gather at the entrance of the company's office in Ikeja, Lagos. The aim of this demonstration is to voice their disapproval against alleged poor condition of services as well as other anti-labor practices. The unions are shutting down all operations nationwide after several efforts to call the attention of the management to their plight failed.
For over 2 years, we have been in a negotiating table with Arik Air management over our staff condition of service. As we speak, we have no condition of service. Arik is about 14 years old. No condition of service. Arik has become a slave camp. About 90% of Arik Air workers have been set on compulsory leave without pay since April till now. Compulsory leave without pay. Family members, Families are dying. Marriages are breaking. The sick are dying and dying.
Their primary demand is the payment of outstanding salaries arrears, signing of conditions of services, remittance of pensions, amongst others.
For this strike to be called off, we are asking immediate reinstatement of all ARIC workers that have been at home. Pensions of ARIC Air workers dictated, not to remitted, should be remitted before this strike will be called off. This strike will last as long as the delay in answering us.
Although the management of ARIC Air sought the intervention of Minister of Aviation Adi Sirika over the industrial action, the aggrieved protesters insist the strike would not be called off, especially as business is booming for the company.
Passenger figures are improving. More aircraft have been brought into the flight. More routes have been opened. So why is ARIC workers still at home? More aeroplanes have been brought into the fleet. Passenger figure is increasing. Port Harcourt flight and Abuja flight, they carry full house. They are diverting the money. They are embezzling the money. The present receiver manager of ARIC Air, Mr. Mokide, he should be removed. Let AMCON remove him. Let presidency remove him.
There has been no official response from the management of ARIC Airlines to these allegations. Unfortunately, this strike action comes at a cost, and the passengers are the ones bearing the brunt. Hundreds of travelers who have been left stranded say they are disappointed over lack of prior notice from the airline. Abisola Adebayo, TV360, Lagos.
Well, the federal government has condemned the strike action of the joint health sector unions JOHESU, describing it as unnecessary and illegal. The government has now directed various unions in the health sector operating under JOHESU to ignore the nationwide strike directive. JOHESU had on Sunday embarked on an industrial action to demand a review of the COVID-19 special inducement and hazard allowance, as well as the payment of all withheld salaries of their members, among other issues. But reacting in a statement, the Ministry of Labour and Employment said it had apprehended the dispute when it met with leaders of the unions last Thursday. Meanwhile, the International Human Rights Commission has described as ill-timed the decision of the joint health sector unions JOHESU to withdraw its services in all tertiary institutions across the country. The union downed tools on Monday following the expiration of its 15-day ultimatum to the federal government over implementation of the newly approved inducement and hazard allowances for medical workers. However, in an interview with Newsman, country head International Human Rights Commission Nigeria Friday Sani said parties in dispute must not arm twist while negotiations are ongoing. He advised that any strike action now is inimical to an equitable settlement of the dispute.
It is not enough that the government has not lived up to the expectation of workers at this critical time, at the time where everything has become difficult for the poor people. This is definitely not the time to go on strike. I appeal to the leadership to have a rethink of their position currently, because it is as good as saying, let the whole poor masses of Nigeria go to die. That is the meaning, because the level of contribution of health workers in Nigeria cannot be overemphasized. If we fail to have a health sector of the government, it's as good as Nigeria is doomed. We cannot allow it. I personally, on behalf of the International Human Rights Commission, wishes to appeal to the leadership of the health workers professionals and other professional bodies within the health workers union to have a rethink. So I appeal to them to look at the meaning of their going to school and the meaning of being medical practitioners, which is total service to humanity, to have a rethink so we can begin to broker a deal, a peace deal with government.
Away from health matters now, the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Godswill Akpabio, says his ministry is making efforts to rejig the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, and reposition it for optimal performance. Akpabio said this while inaugurating a committee to look into some prevailing staff matters in the agency. According to the minister, the committee is tasked with ensuring that all issues slowing down productivity and hindering peace in the commission are resolved. Members of the committee were drawn from both the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs, MNDA, and the NDDC. The 9-man team will be chaired by the Director, Community Development and Education in the Ministry, Lauren Brade. One of the duties of the committee is to examine the remote and immediate causes of placement of some staff on compulsory leave, among other issues. Obadiah Melafia, a former deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has presented himself to the Department of State Security, DSS, following an invitation extended to him on Friday. The former CBN deputy is being investigated over his claim that a sitting governor in the north is the commander of the Boko Haram sect. Speaking with journalists on arrival at the DSS office earlier today, Melafia said he was ready to cooperate with the secret police. This is the third time Melafia will be invited for questioning by the DSS over the said comment he made during a radio interview in August. Now, talking environmental issues, the federal government has warned that 28 states, including Lagos, will experience heavy rainfall before the end of the year. Sadiya Omar Farouk, Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management, in a statement on Monday, asked state governments to implement measures that will address the impact of the heavy rainfall and flooding. She said the 2020 annual flood outlook shows that 102 local government areas in 28 states will witness heavy rainfall, while 275 local government areas in the 36 states of the Federation and Abuja will experience moderate flooding. Some of the states expected to experience heavy rains include Lagos, Delta, Ondo, Kaduna, Rivers, and Zamfara, just to mention a few. The National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, and Action Against Trafficking in Person and Smuggling of Migrants in Nigeria project, ATIPSIM, have resolved to ensure that trafficked victims enjoy adequate care at the country of rescue and upon their return to Nigeria. It is to this end that the two leading agencies have organized a validation and finalization workshop in Abuja on the protocol for identification, safe return and rehabilitation of trafficked persons. Participants on this protocol validation event cut across different spectrum of service providers to victims of human trafficking, such as caregivers, seasoned child protection specialists, MDAs, and the federal and state ministries of women affairs, among others.
The protocol recognizes and appropriately incorporates the guiding principles for the protection of victims of human trafficking, as highlighted in the UN Anti-Human Trafficking Protocol. Beyond the guidelines for identification and rescue of victims of human trafficking, this protocol elaborates the modalities for counseling and rehabilitation of rescued victims. It sets the principles and framework of cooperation by key actors for the successful and safe return of victims of human trafficking, as well as the conditions to determine safe return. Let me also bring to your attention a critical aspect of this protocol, which highlights the technical cooperation needed in terms of provision and exchange of resources, technology, personnel, and information.
This program founded by the European Union is here in the best moment now in this difficult situation. Now today, with this validation is necessary. I think that today we will see how this protocol will be a tool for all the stakeholders in the different process from the beginning when someone is identified in other country as a possible victim of trafficking to here in the country of origin in that process of the rehabilitation.
At any point in time, we have teams that This particular protocol needs the legal backing, and the Human Rights Committee is very much prepared to assist her in that regard to ensure that we get the backing of law. Because as it were, shall be spending money outside the shores of Nigeria, it means that you needed more funds, and you need enabling legal backing to ensure that all those expenditures are within our framework.
Let's take a break here, but still to come. Ekiti State to reopen schools September 21st following drop in daily COVID-19 toll. More after this break. Glad to have you back. Here are some of our top stories tonight. Unknown gunmen have killed 2 officers of the Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, abducting 10 others in Niger State, north-central Nigeria. A total of 26 officers traveling from Sokoto and Kebbi were attacked by the gunmen on Monday. The Corps has now pledged to ensure the missing officers are found and the culprits brought to book. 1 person has been confirmed dead in an accident involving a train, an SUV and a passenger bus in the Oshodi area of Lagos State. The unfortunate incident happened in the early hours of Monday when one of the vehicles veered off the road and rammed into a moving train. According to the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, the dead is one of the occupants of the SUV vehicle. Aviation unions have halted operations of Arik Air at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, over alleged non-payment of staff salaries since April. According to the unions, Arik stopped the payment of salaries after placing 90% of the workforce on compulsory leave in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic.
Shegun. Alpha, say tomorrow still day on.
What's your tomorrow?
Community meeting now.
You know they here, Abi?
Now beggy. See, if we meet for my house, inside parlor, then go no.
This COVID-19 is not a child's play.
If you want to elect a new secretary, we fit to
Do one for WhatsApp, or for Skype, or even on Zoom. Or we just wait.
I will not negotiate.
This social distancing, it is not negotiable.
Not every infected person shows symptoms, but every infected person is contagious. Avoid large gatherings and self-isolate if you think you might have come in contact with a carrier. Your safety and the safety of others is in your hands.
This message is from the Akinfade Foundation in partnership with the National Orientation Agency with support from MacArthur.
Well, let's now shift focus to the COVID-19 pandemic. Nigeria has recorded 79 new cases of the coronavirus, making it the lowest figure in several months. In a late-night tweet on Sunday, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and CDC said of the new cases, 30 were recorded in Lagos, 17 in Kaduna, while 7 were recorded in Ogun State. The new cases now brings the number of confirmed infections in the country to 56,256. Meanwhile, 44,152 infected persons have recovered, while 1,082 persons have died. Primary and secondary schools in Ekiti State will resume learning activities on September 21st. The state governor, Kayode Fayemi, announced this in a statewide broadcast on Sunday evening. He also directed tertiary institutions in the state to open from October 2nd, subject to each institution's governing council decision and strict adherence to safety protocols to curb the spread of COVID-19. The governor said students in SS2, JSS3, and Primary 6 are to resume on September 21st, while students in SS1, JSS2, and Primary 5 and 4 are to resume from September 28th. Meanwhile, students in JSS1 and Primary 1 to 3 are to resume on October 19, while pupils in kindergarten and nursery schools are expected to resume on November 2nd, when more assurances of safety for their age bracket would have been established. Clinical trials for a COVID-19 vaccine being developed by a UK-Swedish drug firm and Oxford University are set to resume. The trials were suspended after a participant fell ill earlier, but in a statement on Saturday, the varsity said the trials are now safe for resumption. The development, it said, was consequent upon the recommendations of an independent safety review committee, as well as the Medicines and Healthcare Product Regulatory Agency, which regulates medicine in the UK. The vaccine trial is currently at the third stage with about 30,000 participants in the US, the UK, Brazil, and South Africa. Let's take a break, and when we return, we'll bring you business news and more. Welcome back. Let's now join Oyin Adekunle for business news.
Thank you very much, Fidelia, and welcome to Business News. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, says Nigeria's revenue has dropped by about 65%. She said this necessitated the decision of the President Muhammadu Buhari, to discontinue the payment of petrol subsidy. Ahmed said this on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria program on Monday. She said if the petrol subsidy returns, it would lead to fuel scarcity because the government would not be able to pay marketers. Oil prices rose on Monday as a tropical storm in the Gulf of Mexico prompted drillers to evacuate rigs and shut in production, although gains were muted by concerns about excess global supplies and falling fuel demand. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures were trading up 14 cents at $37.47 a barrel by around, while Brent crude was 6 cents higher at $39.89 a barrel. Both contracts ended last week lower, falling for a second week in a row. Well, we'll take a pause here and return with Stock Market Review. Transactions at the Nigeria stock market opened the week sustaining previous rising profile. Today's market benchmark rose by 0.05% to close at 25,605 basis points, while the value of all listed equities stood at 13.358 trillion naira. Now, market escaped closing flat today with 17 gainers against 16 losers, but in all, more blue chip stocks appreciated in price today, and leading the pack of price gainers is CAP PLC, Dangote Cement, WAPCO, and Neymars, all rising by a combined 2 naira and 45 kobo. But on the flip side, we see that the percentage laggards and worst performers were Stanbic IBTC, International Breweries, Fitson Healthcare, and FCMB. But moving on now, in summary, 257.027 million units of shares worth 3.3 billion naira exchange hands in 3,567 deals. But let's now take a look at foreign stocks. We see that FTSE is down in the reds. Dow Jones is rising by over 400 points on hopes of coronavirus vaccine. Nikkei is also on the rise after Shinzo Abe's ally was elected to replace him as prime minister. Investors are basically optimistic that Yoshihide Suga's regime will continue with economic policies of the Abe's administration, and that's why Nikkei is up 0.65% at the close of trading today. And that's it on business. It's back to you now, Fidelia.
Thank you very much, Oyi. 10 pupils have died with 7 others injured in a fire which broke out at a school dormitory in Tanzania's Kagera region. The fire started at one of the dormitories of Biamungo English Medium Primary School at around 4:30 a.m. local time. Authorities say the deceased, aged between 6 and 12, and the critically injured had inhaled smoke and were overpowered by the flames. At least 74 children had been residing in the dormitory, and the death toll is expected to rise. The cause of the fire is yet to be ascertained. However, the police have started investigations into the incident. Neymars' punishment for being one of 5 players sent off following a brawl at the end of Paris Saint-Germain's defeat to Marseille will be revealed on Wednesday. The French Football League said this on Monday. The world's most expensive footballer was shown the red card in stoppage time of the 1-0 loss to Marseille over the weekend. Neymar, in a tweet after the match, later insisted that Alvaro Gonzalez called him a monkey, an allegation the Marseille player has denied. While any racist behavior carries a maximum suspension of 10 matches. Well, that's it on News Now. Many thanks for joining us. I am Fidelia Aguncha. Bye for now.